Done anything really much differently than I've done it. You know, I had a lot of great mentors. You know, when I was trying to get into business, which back in when I was doing it, because you know, a little older, been doing it almost 30 years, and at the time, I never read DC Comics. I was always a Marvel head. I mean, I had a few DC Comics, but I was a Marvel head. So I would just go on a train or drive down to Manhattan and get on an elevator, which you can't do anymore since 9/11. You know, you can't get past the lobby. There's security there, and but that didn't exist. And so I would just get on the elevator. Marvel's on such and such a floor, and get up there and be in this cool, you know, waiting area with giant pictures of all the superheroes that I loved, and a secretary, and I'd come and say, I came all the way from Schenectady to get someone to look at my stuff, you know. And so I ended up getting great advice from everybody, even including, you know, Jim Shooter, who was editor-in-chief at the time, and John Romita Sr. eventually became like the last link that got me work. John Romita Sr. was the art director at the time at Marvel, and he gave me all kinds of advice and really shaped me all the way until he felt I was ready, and then started knocking on the door saying, you got to find this kid some work. So I had so much great advice which I followed, and some of the things I would tell, you know, young Greg, they didn't exist back then. You know, like internet forums. If that existed, I'd say, don't bother reading all that stuff. It would drive you crazy. It's just a lot of people like to complain about everything. So
save yourself some time, save yourself some stress.
Yeah. So apart from that, I mean, I think I did everything that they told me to do, and I think they told me all the right things to do. So I guess I would just say, do exactly what you did. You know, listen to the advice of these great mentors that you had. I wouldn't change anything. Yeah, you know.
Now, going back to some of the early, I guess you would say, big scale stuff that you worked on at Marvel, you were working in the X group as they were doing some family crossovers and that sort of thing. What was that atmosphere like as compared to now? You know, being involved in big scale DC stuff, was it very similar? You know, a lot of different people spinning a lot of different plates when you've got, you know, that kind of crossover event where a lot of writers, a lot of artists, a lot of editors are all working together in some respect.
Yeah, and you know, well, first off, let me just tell you. Okay, so my first full-time book at Marvel was Quasar, and so it was a book that was ready to be canceled. So give it to the new guy. How bad can he do it? And I raised it by 20,000 copies a month, so it escaped the chopping block. And then all the top guys went and formed Image, and that's how I got the X-Force book, right? So I was like, yes, great, you know. So right away from Quasar, a book ready for cancellation to X-Force. And in that time, I know I'm getting sidetracked, but I'll tell you because it's funny to me. So McFarlane.
This is exactly the direction I'm moving you anyway. You followed my direction perfectly.
So McFarlane calls me up, Tom McFarlane, and I, you know, I had a hard time believing it was Tom McFarlane, because why is Tom McFarlane, you know, Tom McFarlane at the time, you know, who was just, you know, like one or two notches below, I guess God, right? God McFarlane. So he called me, and I was like, oh, come on, Kevin, cut it out. Thought it was my friends messing around with me, right? And so after about 10 minutes of finally him, you know, no, he's Todd. And me going, no, it's not a Todd. No, it's Todd. You know, and finally I go,
for real.
Yeah, so he goes, yeah, you know, wondered if you want to come and work for me doing some stuff at Image. And I go, are you out of your mind? I said, I just got handed this plum at Marvel, and you think I'm going to come to work for your little startup company, which could fold tent tomorrow night? And he goes, pussy. And he hung up the phone. So I stayed at Marvel for some time, and I did X-Force. So back to your question, I mean, I did attend the summit, the X-Men summit, which was, I think, to determine the storyline for Executioner Song, maybe at the time. And so, you know, there's always been, you know, a collective think tank. Usually they don't typically include the artists, especially these days. It's become more writer-centric, and so, you know, Scott's always out to Burbank, and they get, you know, Azarel and Tinian and, you know, all the others, and they put them in a room, and they you know, just spitball and try and tie it all together. So in that respect, I have the easy job. You guys figure it out, and I'll draw it, and if fans love it, I'll take credit. If they hate it, I'll point at you. That's how it works.